Hello again. Thanks for stopping in. Let's see what's in lineup here right now. We have a 290 for a bar and chain issue. A battery powered Stihl. I think that's just here for sharpening. A 261 with a blown up clutch. A 291 for a bar nut. A 462 that doesn't run right. A TS360 with fuel coming out the exhaust. An MS250 that won't start. And a 2-person Hornet that hasn't ran in 75 years and just needs a quick tune-up. Let's start with this 261. Good morning. Welcome back to my workbench. If you're new here, my name is Erica. Welcome to the channel. Today in the bench, we have the Stihl MS261. The customer who dropped this off handed me the saw, handed me these parts, and said something's wrong. And while it's here, he said, look it over good, give it whatever it needs. This saw is heading out to do a lot of work in the near future. So the 261 is a 50cc professional chainsaw. The 261 replaced the MS260, and the 260 replaced the Stihl 026. And this is an M-tronic chainsaw. So we're going to plug it into the computer and get some data off of it. How many times do you think this saw has started? How many hours do you think are on it? We're going to find out. Let's get started. So here we are with a very well-loved Stihl MS261. So there's a problem. We'll be replacing that. We're going to take this all apart, inspect it, clean it, and replace what's needed. So I'll get that stuff out of the way for now. Just have a quick little walk around on this saw, looking at the plastics, the handles, just looking for any visible damage. We are missing a clutch spring, but we're going to take this all apart and have a really good look. Chain catcher is severed off. Lots of dirt and filth, but that's to be. This is a very heavy use, commercially ran chainsaw. So there's nothing surprising here. Well, I'm going to pop the top cover off this. I got to get to the spark plug, the coil wire, and my little computer plug-in. And we'll get this thing on life support and see what we can learn about it. I'll get this pile of rags out of sight. I do have a service come in every week to bring me things like this, clean rags, some of our clothing that we use here in the shop. And my cabinet maker, John, who watches these videos, I'm going to have you come out and measure up here for a new countertop maybe. What do you think? This is kind of a mess, I know. Maybe we'll have something nicer soon. These are old tabletops, and I don't know what this is, but it was what I had to make a table with, so it works, doesn't it? Okay, so I need that plug in. There we go. Let's get started. There is some more diagnostics that you can pull off these saws. You can hook up to the computer and start the saw and collect data while the saw is running. You can imagine how awkward this would be. I would have to take my whole computer setup, cables, the saw outside, hook everything up to the saw, start it. The saw is running, the saw is vibrating, trying to keep everything plugged in. It can be done, but we only really do that when it's necessary. So we have all three of our connections made. Let's see what we have here. So this saw was manufactured in 2020. I sold this saw new in 2020. So operating hours, 251 hours, 2 minutes, and 6 seconds. This saw has successfully been started 8,178 times. This saw has never been plugged in, but this saw's been here before for numerous different things, so I've just never plugged it in before. I've never had a reason to. And in this state, the computer is detecting no running issues at all. So there you go, 251 hours. That's quite a few starts. We did a 500i video about a month ago, and that saw had over 12,000 starts on it. Well, let's get to work. So before I do any repairs to this saw, I want to hear it run. So let's pull this clutch off, and then we'll head outside with it. When you go to remove the spark plug out of your 261, 241, the spark plug tool and that rubber around the spark plug are like the same size. It's hard to get your tool through it. I'm going to call Germany and get to the bottom of this. They didn't answer. The tip on the spark plug is turning a little white. This thing could have been running hot, and that could just be a dull chain. This saw didn't come in with a barn chain, so I don't know the condition of the chain. So with the condition that this saw came into me in, with this all blown apart, a spark plug that indicates it's been running hot, I'm going to guess that the barn chain they run on this isn't in any better condition. Oh, I see. That's not supposed to be on its own in there. Those are supposed to be one part, not two. Look at the damage to the oil pump. These are supposed to be together. There's what a new one looks like. Look at the wear on that. This is a very heavy use saw. And this is why it's important, especially on a saw that's used like this one is, to take these apart for cleaning and inspection. So I'm going to take this thing outside and just make sure it runs before we continue on here. I already have the spark plug out to put the piston stop in, so I might as well just put a new plug in it now. But before I do that, I'll grab the camera and we'll have a quick look down the hole. A few of you have asked what my camera is that I use. I'll just show you the model of it here. I ordered that on Amazon. And speaking of Amazon, the driver was just here and delivered me a package. A fuel filter funnel. Wow, I can't wait to try this out. Thank you to whoever sent this to me. There wasn't a note in the box. Well, whoever it was, thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Okay, well, we got the spark plug out still. We're already here. Let's do a compression test. Looks like just about 150 pounds. We'll put a new plug in this, NGK BPMR 7A, gapped properly. Well, I guess we should check the fuel in it. There's lots of fuel in there. Let's just dump it out, have a quick look at it. Starting with the clean container. There's a bit of dirt in that tank. I don't see any water in this fuel. I'll pour it back in and we'll go outside and fire it up. I will clean this tank out later. But I just caught a bunch of the dirt right there in the bottom of that container. Okay, come with me. Let's step outside. So we've been smelling this rotten smell of fuel in the shop. I sniffed the lineup out here and we narrowed it down to that cutoff saw that was sitting here. Remember that cutoff saw? Yeah, it's outside now. Let's go over and see it. Wow, what a beautiful day. There's my husband stacking wood. So this tool belongs to a fire department. I called them. I told them that the thing has been sitting with old fuel in it. The carburetor, everything that fuel has touched is rotten. And they said, replace the carb, replace whatever needs replacing. They use this tool to cut into sometimes the people's roofs. to cut cars open. So it's a pretty important tool, and there's no room for error. And it's not about money, it's about saving lives. So we're going to order some parts for this. I just wanted to give you a little update on it. All right, back to my workbench. Okay, this 261 starts good, runs good. Next thing I'll do is get it all cleaned up. So I'm going to take the plastic off here. I'm going to pull that recoil off, and we'll give this thing a deep clean. We have one screw in the recoil missing. Okay, so that I'm going to pull that plastic out of there, and this is going to go out for clean out. We'll get all that cleaned up. There's some screws that hold this on, but I'm just going to go to the air and blow a bit of that away so I can get the screws out. I do have an air hose right here near me. I will do little bits of blowing out in here, but the bulk of the stuff, I take the saws outside because it's just too messy. There's just nothing left of that. Okay, we're getting down to the nitty gritty here. I don't know how well you can see it, but those, like the cylinder, look at that. That would be causing this saw to overheat. This saw was probably thinking to itself, how am I going to get him to stop using me? Maybe if I just blow a clutch spring, he'll have to take me into the shop. That's probably what happened, right? Well, we're back from our spa appointment. It went well. All I did was go outside and I sprayed Zep. I think I have a container of it here. It's just a heavy duty degreaser. And I just follow the directions and mix it in a spray bottle. So I spray everything down, let it soak for a few minutes, and then I take compressed air to it. And then at the end, I just take a rag and just kind of wipe everything down. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. Just check the string to make sure it looks good. So now that I've got all the dirt cleaned out of here, we can get a closer look at this oil pump. You see all that wear right there? And this part that I found loose in here? I'm going to show you what it was doing. See how that is a perfect... This thing was spinning in here and just whittling away at the material in that oil pump. The oil pump is not leaking. I think the clutch spring blew out just in the nick of time. This is a smart little saw. It has a little brain in it that said, blow a clutch spring. Take me to Erica. Let's start putting this together. New worm gear. There's the part number for that. Put this back on. Top. It says top there. That faces out towards you. So I put 3 new clutch springs in this, and one of these retainers was missing. I'm out of them new. I went out back and found my finest used one. Let's get this thing back into service. And the oil cap is leaking. The part number. Clutch is tightened down. Put my spark plug back in. Let's finish putting this together. So his bearing is in pieces. So we're going to put a new one in it. There's the part number. Just going to put some grease on it. These had been recently replaced, and I think they're okay. And it came in without a washer and without a clip, so it'll get new of each. New washer. There's the part number. New clip. And there's the part number for the clip. Okay, so that's all back together. But there's too much movement back and forth there. That drum, it may be shot. I'm going to take it apart again. Okay, let's try this again. Here's a brand new one. But it's got play too. What's going on here? It's the crankshaft itself. The crankshaft is damaged. This was let go way too long. There's the bearing we took out of it. So, when you don't pay attention to your equipment, you don't maintain your equipment, this is what happens. I'm going to give him a quick call. So there is an up-close shot of the crankshaft. Might be kind of difficult to see, but it is whittled down. Right where you see my pointer there, it's tapered there. This is no fault of the saw. This is a saw that should be looked at often, and it was neglected. If you treat your saw casually, it will become a casualty. I'm going to try to explain the problem with letting this go like this. Put the bearing back on. So you put your barn chain on, you tighten it down. That's putting pressure on this. Everything in here is not running true. Now, after seeing this, it makes sense why we found this. Everything was running off kilter. This is broken. You've seen the damage that that did to the oil pump in there. It all makes sense now. You can use this video as a way to learn from my mistakes. So here I was concerned about whether the saw ran or not before I did these repairs. And I guess I should have been more concerned about these repairs than whether the saw ran or not. So being that this saw is run by a tree service, heavy, hard use, this is not going to hold up. I just gave him a call, explained what this saw needs, which would be a new crankshaft, plus the other various things that are, like the oil pump is damaged, this bearing clip, washer, air filter, just everything that we've seen. The issue is this saw right now is on sale for $7.99 in Canada. The new crankshaft is $476, and that doesn't include any time to do that. So why would he spend close to or as much as a brand new saw costs? This is a part saw now. Sad, eh? It's a sad day. I put a few new things on this. So the clutch springs, I can take them off. I can take the new spark plug out of it. And I can take that new oil cap off. That was about it. There's no point in leaving them on the saw. It's not going to do it any good. I did spend some time cleaning it up, but I mean, it was so filthy, I had to clean it up to kind of get a better look in here. So it is what it is. In previous videos, I have talked about how this kind of equipment and the value of this kind of equipment, how you have to be careful how you approach this stuff and in what order you go. Because you can spend some time focusing on one thing and then find something like this and it's over with. So it's over with for this 261. Should we have a funeral for it? Probably not, because it won't be buried here. So the clutch will come back off. I'll get the new worm gear out of there as well. And I just found something else. See if I can zoom in. The flywheel's broken. Like, look at the material missing out of the... Remember when I took the recoil off, it was missing a screw. Like, look how long it's been missing a screw for. Look at the wear. I need to get my glasses checked, make sure they're still working. If I would have noticed this all earlier, that would have made for a boring video, wouldn't it? Well, I'll get all my parts off this thing. Well, guys, here I am with a 261 spread across my table. Not good news for this 261, but it happens. Stuff like this happens all the time. When a saw is ran hard like this, and it's not taken care of, and it's not maintained, anything can happen. So he said, box this thing up. He has lots of these, so this will make a good part saw for him, and we'll get him a new 261 ready to go. So I'm going to pull my few parts off. There's not much. Oil cap, spark plug, clutch springs, and that worm gear. No big deal. So I have a whole bunch of saws over there waiting for me. I'm going to go grab a coffee, get on to the next saw. I really appreciate you being here to watch my fails and my successes. Thank you very much.